Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are doing really well. I'm Jenny and in today's video we're going to talk about the difference between physical and chemical sunscreen. Now if you have not seen the first part of this video where I tell you everything about sunscreen, it's a sunscreen crash course. The link is in the description box and also on the eye icon, so don't forget to check that out first and then watch this video. Now this is a part 2. There will be a part 3 where I will test one of the best rated sunscreen in the Indian market. You can choose the best sunscreen. So today it's all about the battle between physical and chemical sunscreens and which one should you go for. Now let's talk about the physical or mineral sunscreen. Now these sunscreens have been in the market from the longest time. These are your top players of the sunscreen world because these contain zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. It can have either both or one of these ingredients. Now whenever you look at a sunscreen packaging and you see the word sheer zinc or you see the word titanium dioxide, physical sunscreen, mineral filters, all of these indicate that this is your mineral or your physical sunscreen. The way that the physical sunscreen works is that when you apply it, it sits on top of your skin and then it reflects the sun rays and the UV rays. It does not absorb them, it just reflects them. So it's like a protective film on your face. The most prominent feature of a physical sunscreen is that it leaves a white cast. It has a tendency to leave a white cast because of titanium dioxide and zinc, because these two things have that white cast that can be really ashy and gray depending on your skin type and skin tone. So that's why a lot of people have started to switch to chemical sunscreens. Now let's talk about chemical sunscreens. Now chemical sunscreens, as the name suggests, they work on a chemical process. So chemical sunscreens contains chemical filters which are developed in the lab, and the most common names of these chemical filters are oxybenzone, avobenzone, octinoxate, octocrylene, octisalate and homosalate. If you see any of these ingredients in your sunscreen ingredient label, that means your sunscreen is a chemical sunscreen. And these are usually your water-based sunscreen, your aqua-based sunscreen that claim to have zero white cast because they have none of the physical filters involved. These basically contains a group of chemicals that provide you UVA, UVB protection. Now the way that these chemical sunscreens work is that it absorbs into the skin and it absorbs the UV rays and then turns into heat, and that way it gets released from the body. So there is a chemical process involved when you use chemical filter based sunscreen, hence the name chemical sunscreen. Now that you know the basic difference between a physical and a chemical sunscreen, which one should you choose? Now choose a physical sunscreen if you have sensitive skin. Sensitive skin cannot tolerate a lot of chemicals. A physical sunscreen will only have zinc and titanium dioxide, which are sensitive skin friendly. So if you have sensitive skin, always choose a physical sunscreen. A physical sunscreen is more moisturizing because it has to use less chemicals to protect you from the sun, and therefore it can be easily mixed with more moisturizing ingredients. The type of sunscreens, they work immediately. With these sunscreens, you do not need to apply it 20 minutes before heading out. The moment you apply it, that's when the sun protection begins, because as I said, these are a film on the face. They do not work with like the absorption method. They sit on top of the skin, so the moment you apply it, that is when it starts protecting you from the sun. So it's pretty immediate, and of course it is reef friendly as well. A lot of sunscreen, when you wash it off and it rubs off, and you go to the beach, you apply sunscreen, some of it rubs off and mixes in the water. So this is definitely a reef friendly option. Now the cons about this is these have more chances of being rubbed off. These are not as water resistant as the chemical sunscreens, and of course the major reason why a lot of people have started switching is that these sunscreens leave a horrible white cast. Now the way to deal with white cast is you can either mix in like a drop of a heavy full coverage foundation to make it like a tinted sunscreen, or you can buy tinted sunscreens which are mineral which have mineral filters from the market. That is the only way to deal with a white cast. However, a lot of these sunscreens, they do leave a white cast, but as it gets settled into the skin, the white cast sort of goes away. But you have to be very careful because it can look really ashy depending on your skin tone, and it's not really a good look. However, most sunscreens that I have used, which are physical sunscreens, the white cast goes away after a little while. So I will recommend physical sunscreens to those who have sensitive skin, who have dry skin, and they work a lot in the sun and they need immediate sun protection, so they can definitely go for it. Now let's talk about who should buy chemical sunscreen. So chemical sunscreens are more water resistant because they have chemical filters, and those filters have been tested for water resistance capability. Now if you sweat a lot, these would be really handy because most of these are water based. That means they are great for combination oily skin types, and they will not rub off that easily with sweat. The best thing about these is that you can also mix in your skincare with it, because these are chemical filters. They're very easy to mix with your skincare, so you can easily buy sunscreens that combine skincare in it. Another thing is that you need to apply this 20 minutes before you head out in the sun, so that is definitely a con with these types of sunscreen. So this will not provide you immediate sun protection, immediate UV protection, but you have to be careful, and you should skip this if you work a lot in the sun and you need immediate sun protection. If you are someone who gets ready in the morning and have like half an hour gap before you step out, then definitely chemical sunscreen all the way. And of course, these sunscreens do not leave a white cast, so these gets absorbed into the skin really quickly, and they do not leave any white cast. These are also moisturizing, but more suited towards oily and combination skin types. Sensitive skin people should stay away from chemical sunscreens because they can affect their skin. Now these sunscreens sadly are not coral reef friendly because there are chemical involved. Some of these chemicals, avobenzone and octinoxate, there are studies that show that they are linked with hormone disruptions. They are linked with, of course, damaging the coral reef. They're not coral reef friendly. So there is a lot of controversy around these ingredients. The good news is now a lot of companies are coming up with sunscreens that do not contain harmful chemical filters. In my recommendation, I personally like to use a third category, that is a hybrid sunscreen. Now a hybrid sunscreen can be like, a hybrid sunscreen is the one that contains both chemical and physical filters. Chemical filters, that to safer options. Now these sunscreens are best because they have a 0 to minimal white cast, and they give you the protection of both chemical and physical filters. So I tend to go for hybrid sunscreens such as this one. This is the Cetaphil very high protection light gel, so it has both filters, so that's why I really enjoy wearing this. And always remember, wash off your sunscreen before you go to bed. Very important. And the best way to do that is double cleansing. I've made a video on double cleansing as well. link is in the description box. You can check that out and see why double cleansing is so important. So this was all for today, the difference between physical, chemical sunscreen. In the next sunscreen video, I am going to test best rated sunscreens in the Indian market, and I'm going to tell you what are my recommendations. And this was all for today's video. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.